Hey guys, Jordan here, and in this video I'm going to be answering a question about distortion, so let's get into it. Alright, so on my channel I talk about real estate photography, so if that's something you're interested in, then make sure to subscribe. Today's question comes from Alung Sion, and he says, what about distortion between APS C and full frame? Maybe 10mm on APS C and 16mm on full frame sensor. Is that the same distortion? Because I am an APS C user, and actually I'm interested with real estate photography, by the way. Yeah, so I think it's like a 1.6, 1.7 difference between full frame and APS C. The distortion doesn't really matter if you're using a wide angle lens on a APS C size sensor camera or a full frame. Now, to get the same aspect ratio, which is kind of what you're referring to when you talk about 10 and 16, that's very close. So if you have a 10mm on an APS C sensor, that's about the same as a 60mm on a full frame camera. Yeah, the distortion doesn't matter with the sensor size. You're always going to get that with a wide angle lens. And in most cameras, you can apply a lens correction so that distortion goes away, where you don't have the bowing effect in your photos. There are also options within Lightroom if that's your editing platform of choice, or other editing platforms as well, to apply a profile to not have the distortion. But yeah, I think typically with a bigger sensor camera you're getting less noise, but that's not always the case, because it really depends on what camera you're using, right? I think an APS C size Sony sensor creates less noise than like an older Canon full frame sensor. So it really just depends on the camera that you're using when it comes to noise. And then anyways, those are my thoughts on the distortion, but I think they're both APS C typically more affordable. The lenses are usually cheaper, so if you're just getting into it and budget's an issue, then I'd probably go APS C. But if you have the money, you can invest in full frame gear. Typically gear holds its value pretty well unless a certain lens size becomes obsolete. I'm a big fan of buying used gear, because used gear, it's already depreciated a little bit, and then if you buy used and sell used later on down the road because you want to upgrade, you're usually not losing too much money. So anyways, that was more than what your question was, so I'm going to stop there. Thanks again, Alung, for your question, and we'll see you guys on the next one.